get blown. Let's get it on and watch the spot get blown. Watch the spot get blown. Let's get it on and watch the spot get blown. Watch the spot get blown.
The following podcast is a TJ DeSantis production. Accounts, descriptions, and samples of this audio may not be disseminated without the consent of its creator or TJ DeSantis Productions, LLC. For information, email tjdesantisproductions@gmail.com.
It's the beginning of a new and excitingly different story.
VSRN.
This is Randy the Natural Couture.
Hey, this is Tim Sylvia Maniac.
This is Chuck Gadsden of Dallas. This is Alice Overend.
Hey, what's up? It's Enrique Rodriguez.
Hi, this is George St. Pierre, and you're listening to TJ DeSantis.
Hey guys, this is Voice Gracie. You're listening to Beatdown on Sherdog Radio Network.
You're listening to Beatdown.
Beatdown on Sherdog Radio Network.
Here's your host, TJ DeSantis.
Hey everybody, it's Beatdown on Between Rounds Radio in conjunction with the Sherdog Radio Network. My name is TJ DeSantis on this quarantined edition of your favorite mixed martial arts radio show that you may or may not have known existed. Getting calls left and right. 917 UFC Talk is the number. That's 917-832-8255. And people are like, hey, is Eddie there? I'm like, not yet, soon. And they're like, what is this? The radio show? Cool. Where's Eddie? I give you Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King, kind enough to join me. Eddie, are you quarantined in your man cave? What's the setting like around you right now? It looks awesome.
We're down my basement in my bar area.
I love it. How's life on lockdown been treating you? Have you been obeying the? Well, I guess I don't even know. Are you supposed to be confined to your home?
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania, and they're pretty much non-essentials. All non-essential businesses are closed down, and families are told to stay home at all costs. So we got 4 kids at home, so we're definitely law-abiding citizens.
There you go. I guess maybe I'm breaking the law a little bit. I have a studio that's not in my home per se. It's in my buddy's home. I do pay rent for it. And I've told my wife, I know I'm not supposed to leave unless it's essential, but I have an 8-year-old who has massive amounts of energy, and I still got to work. And I'm like, it's essential that I get out of the house. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
By yourself, so I don't.
True.
I just got outside from a run. And when I run, I see what's funny is everybody's changing because I'm running toward a lady with 2 dogs.
Right.
And you see her. As she sees me, she takes her dogs and moves to the other side of the block.
Right. I'm social distancing. You got to be at least 6 feet away.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they're going 100 feet away. If anybody sees another person out there, it's like the zombie apocalypse.
What's funny to me is if you're running, you are not sick. Like, this is a respiratory illness. The last thing you're going to do is start like exerting yourself physically like that. But I don't know. I drove by the beach the other day and it looked like, I guess it is spring break. It looked like it was spring break.
Yeah. Look, I'm a skeptic initially. Right away, me and my wife looked at each other and we're like, man, if the kids get off school, we're headed straight to Disney. Like,
right.
We were going to take, because I was still like 3 months out from my fight. I'm like, we can head to Disney for 5 days and have the time of our life.
Right.
And because it's rare that the kids are able to get off school. So that was my initial thought, but we sat and waited on it a little bit and kept listening to the news, kept reading everything that's coming out. And I was like, this thing is for real, man. And we have friends who are nurses, family who are nurses, and the more stories we kept hearing, the more we're like, we need to stay our ass home and stay in the house and keep everyone safe. So that's where we're at right now. We're just kind of keep checking on the grandparents, keep checking on my mother-in-law, father-in-law, my mom, my dad, and making sure everybody's okay.
What's crazy to me about it is like a lot of people, I was like you, I was like, okay, I've heard about swine flu and bird flu and all of this H1N1 nonsense over the years. I'm like, this is never going to get here. And if it does, it's going to be like an isolated incident where you hear about your, cousin's brother's friend who, knew somebody that had it. And it's like, no. Now, I heard the governor, this was like 2 weeks ago, heard the governor of Ohio say that like he believed that 100,000 people in Ohio already had it, but nobody, qualified for the testing of it because they hadn't had international travel. And it's like, it's still pretty hard to get tested to even confirm whether or not you have this thing.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is you could be a carrier and not have any clue, and it affects everybody so differently. That's what makes it so dangerous, right? So like I can have it, it's not really affecting me. I have a strong immune system,
Right.
But on the same sense, if you already have pre-existing conditions, you can kill that person. So,
right. That was one thing too that I was like curious. Like I'm not a doctor and I'm not trying to like pretend to be super knowledgeable, but when you think about fighters, especially, you could have things that you don't know going on with you that could weaken your immune system. The first thing that I thought about was, a fighter with staph infection, and people carry staph, and that lowers your immune system, and you don't even know necessarily like you're having an outbreak of staph, or even like ringworm technically lowers your immune system. I mean, I don't know how long we have to be like this, but like you said, like people are vulnerable sometimes, not even knowing it.
Yeah, I thought it was a silly solution at first. I said we're all just going to stay in. I mean, that would mean that any kind of virus or anything that was plaguing society, staying in, I didn't think would be the solution. But I didn't realize how serious it was, man. Like I said, I'm a skeptic until I gain knowledge of stuff. And when I see people on the front lines and nurses that I know, who we talk to them on a daily basis, and they say, this shit's for real. People are dying inside the hospital. The scene inside the hospital it's horrific, especially with the elderly people. So we all have a moral obligation to stay inside and do what's best.
Right.
And I'm super understanding of people's financial situations, because if you go down the way where everybody's hard up and they're living paycheck to paycheck and they have to work to make ends meet. I thought about that person right away, and I was like, well, what do they do?
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
they're going to get kicked out and be homeless, or take a risk of getting a disease, and that world is a whole different world. I mean, you go into poverty-stricken neighborhoods, they're not going to be quarantining. They got food to put on the table. They got to pay their rent. So.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like here, so my studio's in like a suburb in Orange County, and like right next door, they had a barbecue yesterday. Like 25 people playing music from their car in the driveway and dancing, and it's like, all right. I mean, I get it. I have an 8-year-old that has literally like methamphetamine levels of energy right now. Like this kid has been locked inside for 11 days. All he wants to do is go to the park. But like, you got to do your part, man. Like I have a mother-in-law that has stage 4 lung cancer. Like if she gets a cold, she might die. If she gets this, it's not good. And yeah, like I don't want to focus too much on the doom and gloom. But one thing you mentioned was, people trying to make ends meet. You mentioned going to Disney. Do you know how much Disney World takes in on a single day, Eddie?
So I do know how many, because I go to Disney World. I don't go to the land.
Right.
We're annual pass hole members.
Nice.
And we're about Disney. We know a good deal. I believe there's 45,000 people that visit the park every day. And from speaking with people who work there, they don't have a down season anymore.
No.
It's literally 45,000 people every single day. So doing the math on that was, let's just say $100 a person. It's a shitload of money.
Right.
That's not including concessions, merchandising, and everything else. So, give me the number.
So my wife is a Disney freak. Interned at Disney World. Went to school for animation. Somehow ended up being like an engineer's assistant. But she's a Disney freak, and she said that she was reading online that on any given day, this isn't like earnings per se, but money handled. It's $40 million a day. $40 million a day. Like that is bonkers. Like I don't know. Like I'm not an economist, but it's like even a company like Disney that's worth like $40 billion. Like how do you get over that loss if you're closed for 6 months?
Here's why. And I follow Disney. I'm an advocate of Disney. Disney right now, their business model isn't based on the parks. The parks are more, they'll make money off the parks.
Yeah.
But it's more the direction they're headed in today. It's all about the numbers of Disney Plus for them. So like whether they're going to sink or swim is all about the Disney Plus numbers, and they crushed the Disney Plus numbers. They like crushed Netflix. Now on their opening day, they had like 10 million subscribers or some kind of crazy number. So yes, not having the parks open is rough, and having to employ them people and everything, they're definitely going to take a monster hit on that. But the parks is very little of what Disney owns. ESPN. They own the largest sports digital sports in the world. They own everything.
Right. So, I mean, my first job was for Disney. I worked for a radio station that was owned by Disney. It's amazing what they have their hands in. And you're right. Like the parks are like the marketing and the icing on the cake, really. But not.
I own shares of Disney, and I made sure I took advantage of buying more at, I think it was like $85 or $90 when it got down pretty low on this recent pullback.
Yeah,
I put a bunch more, and I suggested to a lot of friends to buy a bunch more because, I mean, it's all temporary. It'll all come back up, but owning Disney isn't a bad thing.
That's one thing I didn't really know about you. We've talked about doing radio a handful of times, and you've always brought up talking about investment and talking about investing. Obviously you have some money. You're fighting. You say you're getting paid well, and you're being smart with your money. It sounds like. What initially got you into investing?
Well, I always owned real estate. Since I was able to get enough money with the fighting, since I had extra money, I always read real estate books on finance, things like that. And I was excited to get enough money to be able to buy my first investment property. And I was able to do that at 22 or 23. And my first property that I did was like a home run. I made a lot of money in rental income off it, and then when I sold it, I had a ton of equity in it. So I did really well, and I just kind of repeated that process over my fight career. So real estate I've always been into, but it wasn't until I moved down to Florida and went to the Black Zillions, I met a guy, Andy Sankin, who Andy Sankin, I believe, ran a hedge fund for a little bit, and now he just trades his own money. And he made an offer to the fighters. He said, hey, if any of you guys want to learn how to invest your money properly or whatever, come to my house and I'll show you guys like what I do on a daily basis. And I took Andy up on that offer down in South Florida, and met with his employee Ray, met with Andy, and they would teach me like the fundamentals of how to trade, what to buy, when to buy, and I just sat back and listened with my coffee. I went for a couple weeks. I just kept going as long as he would let me go. And I think that was back in like 2013 or 2014. And ever since then, I've always been trading. I enjoy it. I like learning about new stuff, and I still talk to them guys to this day.
That's awesome. I mean, you hear about fighters and pay, and there's really like two sides of it. Either you're doing well or you're not doing so well. And like I think that's why there's this rush for a lot of fighters, pushing for what UFC President Dana White is talking about, trying to get this next fight card going. And even if it's in a secluded location with no crowd, they want to get back in business. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously we're in the midst of a pandemic. Like none of us have really been alive for something like this that has affected us so much. Do you think the UFC should, get back to work and get back to action as quickly as possible?
I mean, that's I don't like Dana White's job. I don't ever want to be in his position. And for any of us to try to play president of the UFC is silly. I don't want to be in any of their positions to have to make the decision. But I know at the top, whatever decision you make is going to be met with tons of criticism from an audience who would never take on the responsibility that you have never that they would never take on. So I don't envy his position he's in. He has an obligation to that company to make it money and to keep the sport alive and going, along with 600 fighters that are looking for a fight. So as much as the audience is going to say you should do that and you should do this, it reminds me of the same guy at the grocery store who tells me, "Oh, you should have thrown a right hook, or you should have ducked your head to the right when you were doing that fight." It's like,
Right.
it's simple from the outside for you guys to make these decisions, really difficult decisions, and looking at it from the outside. So, like, I don't know. My opinion really wouldn't matter in that. I'm ignorant of what he has going on.
Sure. Yeah, there's always more than meets the eye in situations like that. Let me ask you one thing. Maybe you can relate to this. I don't know what it was like in your early fights, but the fight card in Brazil that they had, no one was in the crowd. The idea of fighting, I think, in an empty arena actually plays a huge part in a lot of things in the actual fight themselves. I was talking to people about that fight card in Brasilia a few weeks ago where there was no crowd, and I said, it's going to be very interesting for the hometown fighters that find themselves in a 15-minute fight that could go either way. A lot of times, fighters, I think, benefit from the fact that the crowd cheers for everything that they do and doesn't necessarily cheer for their opponent when they're successful, and sometimes that can impact the judges. Have you ever fought in front of like a ridiculously small crowd in the early part of your career, and would you be open to fighting in a closed door event strictly for television only?
It would benefit me to fight with no crowd. It would definitely benefit me, because I think for a fighter to get in that zone to where their like mind and body come together and they're able to get in that zone and be like free of thought and free of any interference and just fight like a dog, the less distractions, the better. My first fight ever was my very first fight was in a basketball gym in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and it was a snowstorm, so it was like 100 people there.
Oh man!
And yeah, I fought plenty. Sorry, that's my phone. I fought plenty in front of basically no one. I have no issue fighting in front of a crowd, no crowd. And like in Japan, and back in 2008,
right,
the arenas weren't empty, but they sounded empty.
Exactly.
I mean, you can hit a guy right in the face and you can hear your gloves.
That's crazy.
The noise, because they were literally the Japanese would go and then shush.
Right.
And then shush. It's like playing golf. So I enjoy the silence. You know what I mean? I enjoy it.
Well, we are not a closed door event here on the Sherdog Radio Network. We welcome your calls. The phone number is 917 UFC Talk. It is 917-832-8255. And I mentioned we're pretty much all in quarantine, or we're supposed to be throughout the country. So our next caller is not just a caller. It is callers from Georgia dialing in. It is John, Christy, and Kim. Are you guys still there? Uh-oh. Hello? Well, that's a terrible sound. Let's do this. Hold on. All right. Now you're just live on the radio. I don't know who this is. I have call waiting, Eddie. I can't turn it off. It's terrible because I got a Magic Jack line, which is $50 a month or $50 a year rather than like $50 a month. So I have no idea who's on the air with us now. Who's this?
This is Aaron from Southern California.
Hi, Aaron. You're on with myself, TJ DeSantis, and the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez.
Underground King, what's going on, my man?
What's up, man? West Side's in the house, huh?
What happened? Say that again?
He said West Side's in the house. You're from Southern California.
Hey, I'm a Nate Diaz fan, but when you guys were like potentially matched up at one point, I'd been riding with you, bro.
I appreciate that, man. I'm cool. I'm still cool with Nick. Me and Nick get along. Me and Nick.
Oh, dude. Hey, you're one of my favorite fighters of all time. I already know that. Like, I knew you and Nick are cool, but it's Nate for some reason, right, that has a problem with you?
Yeah, it was just like before we saw a quick story. Before I fought Gilbert Melendez, Nate got all funny, and I never had an issue with Nate before that. Me and him were always really cordial. Me, him, and Nick. We seen each other things, said, hey, what's up? Never friends, but never enemies either. But he got funny when I fought Gilbert. So I confronted him about it in Mexico. And I said, yo, what's your deal, man? Like, with all the mean mugging and all the shit that he was doing. And the UFC people jumped in and broke us up. But since then, it's always been like we're trying to get it fight one another, and it's never seemed to work out.
That's all gravy. Hey, you know what? Being online on hold for a while, I kind of forgot my question, but I just want to say that lifelong fan of yours, bro, and my favorite fight probably of all time is when you knocked out RDA, because even though I was a fan of yours, I just simply didn't see it going down that way. And we had a house full of people, and when that happened, bro, like, it was just insane. It was like right out of a freaking movie, dude. But one of the things I want to thank you for is lifelong motivation. I've seen in many of your interviews you say when you fight someone that's freaking scary, it actually makes you afraid, and it's okay to be afraid because most of your wins have come by violent finishes against those guys that you fear the most. And I just want to say lifelong fan, bro, and much love, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for calling in, man. I really appreciate that.
Appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you
guys
for the call.
have a good day.
Take care. Again, 917 UFC Talk is the number. It is 917-832-8255. Would love to hear from more of you. Call waiting, though. It's killing me, Eddie. I don't know how to turn it off. I can't turn it off because I bought the budget line Magic Jack number because the telecommunication companies still want to like destroy you because no one uses their stuff. How's your like home situation? You mentioned you have 4 kids. Like, how are you keeping them entertained? Are they online all day? Are they playing with tablets? Are they running around killing each other?
No, I have so right now I have one property that we're doing in New Jersey. I have a flip going on there. So my boys in the morning, I sometimes been taking them over there, and we just been doing work on the Jersey house. Like they've been helping me out. We're having some fun there. It's out in the woods. It's quarantined. It's safe, and we just kind of we're doing mostly demo right now. Just kind of keep them active, and then we come home from that. I have outside in the yard. We have trampoline. I'm getting my pool open today. So there's a movie theater right behind us. My house. I bought a house that we don't even like to leave here. So quarantining myself inside here. There's a full gym right back there behind. So I don't need to leave like at any point. I love my house. I don't mind being quarantined here.
That's awesome. We need like that old MTV show to come back so we can do an Eddie Alvarez Cribs.
Yeah, this is my dream home, man. I'm not going anywhere. I love this place. I hate when I have to leave for camps and stuff like that. We have everything here.
Yeah. You mentioned you fight 3 months out. How is that still scheduled? What's going on with that? Like, have you had any word with one about what could be next?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, we're scheduled. I mean, they pushed all the other events. I think pushed them back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Demetrius was originally scheduled for April. And he's getting pushed back to my card, the May 29th card. So I believe we're going in Manila in the Philippines May 29th. So I'm looking forward to that.
That just makes that card even that much better and worth everyone's time to check out. What is the process been like? Making the switch over to one for yourself. Do you like fighting internationally again? I know it's nothing new to you.
No, I do. I enjoy it. The fans are different, and it's super important. Even for young fighters out there, being international is super important to your brand, for yourself. It's one thing to fight in the United States and become popular regionally, and then become popular in the United States. But you also, like, for your business and for your brand, every major corporation, the UFC, every big business becomes international at one point. It's important. So for yourself as a fighter to go to these countries, and if you have the opportunity to fight the best guy in that country, then you take it, because that's an opportunity to put yourself, in the forefront of that country, to become popular and one of the main guys in that country. So I've been doing that since the beginning of my career. I fought in Russia, fought in Costa Rica, Canada, Japan, all different parts of Japan. So being international, fighting international, not only is it like, nerve-wracking and you get the experience of visiting the country, it's just important for you, like business-wise as well.
Right. What about your interaction with fans here in the States? I mean, for a long time, it was really only the hardcore fans that really knew who you were, and then you came over and had success in Bellator and became a poster boy for them, and then ultimately became the UFC's lightweight champion. You're a mainstream star, but sometimes the old saying is you're only as good as your last fight. Do you feel like a lot of those fans have been following you and have seen your last few fights?
To one, yes, and that's why I went to one, because I'm a fight fan. When I was doing the math, I'm like, I don't care where Canelo Alvarez fights. I don't care if it's on DAZN. I don't care if it's on Showtime, what promotion. If I'm a fan of him, then I'm going to make it a point to see him. So I just, it was easy math for me, where if I like to watch a guy fight, like I love watching Justin Gaethje fight.
Right.
If that guy fights, he could fight 4 a.m. in another side of the world. I'm going to tune in to watch that guy fight.
Yeah.
He's that enjoyable to watch. So doing the math, it didn't matter the brand, like the promotion that I was fighting on. It really mattered about, do the fans want to watch you fight? Do they want to watch you fight, or do they not want to watch you fight? So I just, that's kind of how I made the decision.
I think also too, it's 2020. Like when you were fighting in Japan the first go around, it was incredibly hard to see your fights. I mean, you had to wait for a delay at times, or you had to find, an internet stream. Like it's not hard anymore. Like you can get a notification on your phone and then, click a couple buttons and you're pretty much watching live anything, anywhere. That's what's really weird about right now. Is like, I'm a fight fan. I'm a sports fan. There's nothing on TV anymore. Like it's actually kind of cool, because it's driven me to check out some of the older stuff on Fight Pass, the archives. Like they have a lot of libraries that are worth everyone's time. And I'm not talking just about the traditional fight libraries. Like everyone always says, oh, Strikeforce, WEC, UFC, Pride. Yeah, like that's all great, but go back and watch some Hook and Shoot. Like you haven't lived until you've seen MMA in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Remember Bama? They have Bama on there?
Yeah, Hook and Shoot. Almost every single Hook and Shoot, yeah. I couldn't find any. It's weird because there's like Jeff Osborne was a promoter of Hook and Shoot, and he had a lot to do with Bodog Fight, but I couldn't.
He came over to Bodog.
Yeah, I couldn't find any Bodog stuff. I found like one Bodog Fight Presents, but it was in the Hook and Shoot library. But yeah, there's so much stuff on there that honestly, I don't think anybody in their lifetime would be able to get through all of it, because there are hundreds and hundreds of hours of mixed martial arts that a lot of people haven't even heard of, let alone even seen the first go around. So
isn't it so cool from your standpoint? I was cleaning out my garage and I opened up a box, and all my old stuff was in this one box of like pictures of Japan. It was like me with Uriah and Joe Benavidez.
Wow.
back in like 2007, and then there was magazines, like Japanese magazines. It was like. So, are you hearing that phone?
I do not hear it. No, you're good.
Hey, don't worry about it then. But super cool stuff that like I was like, wow, man. Full Contact Fighter magazines.
Right.
Like if you're a hardcore fan and you're a part of the underground forum back in the day, like Full Contact Fighter was my very first sponsor ever.
That's awesome.
And they gave me $300 to sign, and I got $300. They gave me my clothes for free, of course, and it was Joe Gold who ran the magazine, and he paid me like $300 a fight. And I think I was like at 20 or 21 years old. I was ecstatic about it. I'm like, I'm getting paid to wear clothes. I couldn't believe it. But just like how far the sport has came since 2003 when I started, it's fun to look back in them boxes and see like all that stuff.
100%. It's interesting to me. A lot of casual fans that were even watching back in the day in the mid 2000s. They don't realize that Full Contact Fighter was a magazine. A lot of them just think it was a clothing company. It's like, no, it was almost like more like a newspaper. It wasn't like a full color print magazine that you are used to in your local gas station or drugstore. It was it felt really sort of special because it was not low budget's not the right word, but it was done to a level where it was something that you could get and you felt like it was like for hardcores only, if you will.
Like it felt like almost like the magazines. If you went to a high school, the high school magazine.
Yeah, for sure. Your high school newspaper, yeah.
Because it was a niche group, real small group that we all knew everybody and what they were doing, regionally, locally, or whatever. Damn, I wish I had it right here. I'd freaking show you some of the. I have a box up there, man. It's such cool ass shit in there.
See, I mean, you're saving all that stuff for when we finally get Eddie Alvarez cribs. Like that's in it.
Yeah.
Next time maybe, because I'd love to see that stuff. Like I really like the throwback stuff in MMA because I think a lot of people forget about it. And like I was saying, like the stuff that is on Fight Pass, for example, unless someone directs you to it and says, here, watch this. This is a significant show because of X, Y, and Z. It's very hard to understand it. Like I feel like a lot of people know that they need to respect and appreciate Pride Fighting Championships, but if you weren't watching in the time, like you don't really understand it. Like for example, I was saying like if you just dive into Fight Pass and you click on a Fedor, what's that?
Hold on, one second.
Okay.
This is nuts. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Well, Eddie Alvarez is leaving his post. He'll be back in a moment, hopefully. But what I was saying is, if you don't know a lot about Pride and you just dive into UFC Fight Pass and you click on a Fedor fight, there's a chance you click on Zulu Zinho, which Fedor was the greatest heavyweight in the world at that time, and you might end up seeing him fight Zulu, who had no business fighting me, let alone Fedor. All right, Eddie Alvarez is back. What happened? You get more coffee?
No, the phone kept on going. I think someone was looking for the phone in my house.
Oh.
It was down here, so they just kept calling and calling and calling.
Got it. Well, I appreciate you taking care of it. But what I was saying is, if you don't get pointed in the right direction with someone that actually knows the significance of an event, it's very hard to digest a library of fights without some sort of context. And very few people in the MMA media space are really able or even equipped to sort of point anyone in the direction of must-see mixed martial arts fights. Like we know classic fights, but it's like the final few Pride events were so crazy because you knew they were hemorrhaging money. You knew that they were in a lot of trouble in Japan, with their reputation and things like that. And like that doesn't ring through. Like I remember when Sokoju knocked out both Arona and Nogueira, and it was like, all right, Pride's falling apart. And like those are just fights that have really nothing to do with their overall essence of where they were at, but like you felt like things are changing. Like this company has been the world leader in mixed martial arts for a while, and it's like the foundation is crumbling beneath them.
Yeah, Pride was special. It was the stories.
Right.
I mean, it's stories, and if you don't know the story behind it, you have no emotional connection to it, then the fight just becomes a fight. You can watch any fight. You can go on the internet and scroll a million fights. And you're not truly interested in the fight unless you know the story behind it. You know what I mean? Whether it's, two guys who can't stand each other, two guys who this guy's they're both super humble, but they win championship after championship. It's always stories behind it that kind of build that momentum with big, giant, mega super fight. So that's what's missing. That's why it's hard for the casual fans to go back and even watch that stuff and care about it. You got to know the stories behind it. You know what I mean?
If you were to pick a fight that you think is like must-see television, what is it? Like, what do you think you would point your friends to if they were like, Eddie, I need to watch one fight from whenever?
In forever?
Yeah, like let's say at least like 5 years ago. Like it can't be like within the last 5 years.
I actually just watched it not too long ago for myself. And he's always been both of them's been my favorite. Two of my top favorite fighters ever is Henderson and Shogun. And they fought on the same night as me and Mike Chandler one
Oh
year.
yeah, no man,
This fight was like, I watched it like 4 days ago again, and I went, oh my God, like unbelievable.
It was crazy because I think yours and Chandler's fight was like an hour or two before Henderson and Shogun's fight, and I was in the HP Pavilion that night, and I was getting Bellator play-by-play results, and I think it was Jordan Breen was texting me, Chandler and Alvarez have just won fight of the year. Like, you don't understand. This is one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. And then no one was talking about it because Shogun and Henderson went on last that night, and they were like, this is the greatest fight you've ever seen. And what was key about Henderson and Shogun is that was the first, or one of the first UFCs that had a 5-round main event that wasn't a title fight. And if you end that fight after 15 minutes, like Dan Henderson wins, and it's a pretty pedestrian decision. Like, it was methodical, and Henderson, gets his hand raised. But then Shogun rallies because Henderson is pretty tired and gassed out in rounds 4 and 5, and it was just bonkers.
That's what I'm a fan of this sport before I'm ever a fighter, and like you could watch 20 events and not see a fight. You can see a guy who's better athletically just dominate another guy. That's not a fight.
Right.
There are guys out there who can do that, dominate like athletic wise and just be dominated, but that doesn't mean they're a good fighter.
Right.
So until you get to see them in the kind of adversity that Dan and Shogun put each other through, then you see the soul of the guy come out, and it's like, wow, man. Like, we never get to see their souls until they're pushed, into that point of adversity. And like, you see both their souls that night, and I was like, Jesus. But two of my all-time favorite. I was sad that they even had to fight each other. Like, I love both of them guys.
What originally attracted you to mixed martial arts? I mean, not as like a fighter and a competitor, but like as a fan. Do you remember the first fight that you saw?
Yeah, I watched Gracie versus Ken Shamrock, and I think the fight went on for like a half an hour or something.
Yeah.
I think Hoyce's face was swollen like a balloon. I don't know if that might have they might have just stopped the fight. I don't know.
So, if I remember correctly, I'd have to look in the Fight Finder, but I think it was like a 20-minute regulation period, and at the end of it, it would just be a draw.
Yeah, it just kept going.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something so great about that. Like, we could never have that in the sport again, but there's something just so, like, primally beautiful about a fight that just, the fighters will sort it out, or there's no winner.
I'm so happy that like I've got to experience at least a little bit of that with Dream.
Right.
When I had the Dream tournament, the first round's 10 minutes long, and that's foreign to a lot of fans today. Like, what are you talking about? A 10-minute round? Like, the first round was 10 minutes long, and fuck, man, like 7 minutes in, we were winded. I don't care how like condition of a fighter you are, how strong you are mentally, at the 7-minute mark, you're looking at the other guy like, what are we doing here, man?
Right. And those next 3 minutes probably feel like 30 minutes.
Yeah, man. So like, I remember, I think I was only like 3 minutes in, and I looked at my corner, and I turned to my corner, I go, how much time are we in? And they go, just keep fighting, man. My corner didn't even tell me because we were nowhere close to an end. But them 10-minute, like, even training for them 10-minute rounds, it was just like, it's something special. And I'm glad, like, at the moment we were doing it, I'm like, this is hell.
Right.
But happy that I got to experience that before the sport went really strict with its rules, and we're never going to see a 10-minute round again,
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I love having you on, Eddie, and we're going to play a couple games here. One thing that I have been postponing a little bit for the last week or so is you see a lot of like top 10 lists because people can't really write about anything, modern in sports, so they have to go back and look retrospectively at things. And I saw, I'm almost embarrassed to say this is how I came up with the idea, but someone that I work with sent me like a bracket, like one of those March Madness brackets, and it was comprised of cereals, and you got to pick your favorite cereal and what was your favorite cereal and who won the Grand Prix. And I was like, okay, I need to do that, but I need an MMA theme on it. And I decided, why not look back at all of the title belts in mixed martial arts and kind of see which one people feel is the coolest design? Because there are a lot of belts that were just terrible ideas, and there were some belts that I think were pretty great. And we're going to start this bracket next week of 16 of the top belts, and I'm asking my listeners to give me a top 16 list, and then I'll like number 1 will get the most points, number 16 will get the least amount of points. I'll take the top 15, and then the top 2 belts that are on the bottom, number 16 and 17, will go in a poll head to head, and the winner of that poll will get that number 16 seed, and then I will seed them and have people vote, and slowly but surely sort of find who the fan favorite belt is. And I kind of want to look at some of the contenders if you're cool going with the list with me.
Hell, you want me to go get them all?
No, I mean you have a couple of them. I know that. So let's table that. I mean, I saw them last time we did radio in the background. How many physical belts do you have, and how many do you put on display?
I have. Well, my first belt was reality fighting belt. It was regional, and then I got the MFC belt,
yep,
which was a Russian promotion, and from there I won the Bodog belt, and then from Bodog I have. I think right after that was Bellator.
Yep.
And then I lost it, and I won another Bellator belt, and I have the UFC world title.
And how many do you keep out? Do you have all of them on display?
No, I have my MFC one, my UFC one, my 2 Bellator ones, and the other ones are in my cases in the garage.
That's awesome. I was talking to Jeremy Horn the other day, who has like, I don't know how many belts he said he had, but they're like all like regional small show belts. And he's like, they're in one of those like plastic crates that you put in your garage. He's like, I don't even know what belt is what, because most of them just come from like Title magazine. You know what I mean? Like Ringside magazine, the promoters didn't put any money into it. So it's just a plate and a bunch of, leather straps. But let's take a look.
Jeremy was incredible, man. I love Jeremy.
Oh, he's awesome. He has a podcast that I do. You should check it out sometime. I'll send you the link.
I want to do it with him. I'd love to do it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely have you come on. That'd be cool for sure. All right. So I got to press this button, and I believe now we're looking at my computer over here. So I got to do this. Bear with me. So now we start. So that is the modern day Bellator belt. What do you think of that design? Like, it's a little less gaudy in the sense that it doesn't have the gladiator man, but like I feel like there's a lot going on there.
No, way too gaudy.
Yeah.
Like that's not less gaudy. I don't.
I mean,
close here.
There's definitely like a gaudy factor because it seems like there's a lot of gems. There's a lot of like texture to it, but like it doesn't have a face like the original Bellator belt had, which. I don't know. Maybe I'd take the face over all the texture that's going on here.
Yeah, I'm not like. Look, I love all belts, so I mean, I want them all. I want every single one. But right. No, that's not going to win. That one's not going to win.
All right, we'll see. We'll see if anybody votes for it. The next one is the Dream Divisional title, which again, like, I mean, it's unique. I like the idea that it doesn't look like every other belt out there, but. There's something to it. I guess I don't like a lot of texture on a belt.
Yeah.
Because like, what is that? It's like wings or flames or feathers. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
All right, next one. Oh man, this might be the most vilified belt in mixed martial arts history. It is the International Fight League divisional title. Which, if you're looking at it, going, is that snakeskin? Yes, that's snakeskin.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah. Which I mean, they had an interesting idea with their championship rings. You could get a ring if your team won. but if you were their individual champion, like the only person that ever said that belt looked cool, Ben Rothwell.
He liked that?
Yeah, he liked that.
Ben's a great guy, but
poor taste, right?
Yeah, poor taste.
Poor taste. All right, next. The Invicta FC belt. I like it because it is significantly different.
That's women's?
Yep, that's a women's belt.
That looks cool for a women's belt. I like that. It actually looks womanly.
I mean, yeah, it definitely has a different vibe. It's not, I keep saying I don't like a lot of texture. I guess the word is I don't like it being busy. You know what I mean? I want it to be kind of smooth and streamlined. And I think the Invicta belt is pretty cool, especially because it's just a different shape. Like so many other belts have like this, same sort of uniformed shape. But the Invicta belt is pretty nice. Next, we have the old school King of the Cage belt, which is one of the more replicated belts that you can buy online as just a memento. For King of the Cage not being a mainstream mixed martial arts promotion, it's been around forever. Hardcores definitely know it. Apparently, there's a market to buy these things.
Is there?
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want an incredibly steroided mascot?
I think it's the brand name. You know what I mean? Like
right.
King of the Cage. Like they did a great job branding. With that.
You definitely know what you're watching when you see their yellow mat.
Yeah. Yep.
It freaks me out. It freaks me out when I go back and watch UFC 200 or see clips of UFC 200.
I was just going to say that.
It's so weird.
I was in the locker room of that. I think a Sunsal fought. One of our guys might have fought. Frankie, I might have fought on that. And I remember saying, "Man, this looks just like King of the Cage just because of the coloring."
Yeah,
the mats and all.
100%. Do you like that belt?
I'm not crazy about that. I'm not crazy about that. I don't like super in your face logo. Even when if I wear a clothing brand, I kind of want it to be a little bit hidden. I don't want it to be like,
right.
Bam, like the way Tap Out was.
100%. Yeah. I was just telling a story the other day. I was wearing a Tap Out t-shirt like 15 years ago, and like it almost incited a drunk guy to fight me. He's like, "Are you gonna tap me out, bitch?" I'm like, no, I'm just trying to walk by you. So, yeah. All right. Next, look at that one.
Now, look, I'm not even being biased. That's a beautiful fucking belt. Like, yes, I'm a one championship fighter. That's a fucking. I can't wait to get that belt.
You know what I like about that belt? It has the cats, the lions on the side, and I found this photo, put it in the player here. I hadn't even noticed those cats until now, because like. If you told me there's a belt with lions that have crowns on it, I'm going to say it's ridiculous, but that works because it's not gaudy. It's not busy. You know what I mean? It's that uniformed sort of like your attention is drawn one place, no pun intended. And it's a nice belt. It looks heavy though. It's super heavy. I wore it when I went over there. It's super heavy. That's probably the heaviest belt out there, easily. And the tournament one that they gave DJ is heavier than that. Really? Yeah. All right, let's. It's like 20-something pounds, I think. 20 pounds? Oh yeah, my God! It's over 20 pounds. The tournament one. That is bonkers. This one also looks heavy. It's the King of Pancrase belt. Like something out of Star Trek. You see, I like this belt because it has a lot of history, but when I looked at it for this, I was like, it's almost kind of like boring. I hate to say that, but like it looks like it doesn't look like it's a precious metal. Do you know what I mean? The metal is kind of like a matte finish. It looks like that looks like a toy to me. It looks like a toy belt. And I'm trying not to get emotional about like the name and right. Like Pancrase. Pancrase was incredible for all of us who fought MMA. But that belt's, I mean, it's not ahead of its time. It looks like a toy belt, like a
almost like Star Trek-ish.
I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head. I want to like this belt more than I actually do.
Because it's a pancreas belt.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, you put it into perspective for me. It's hard to see, and that's one thing that is really difficult about the Pride divisional title.
They should have did the Pride and Gold. If they did the Pride and Gold,
Yeah,
that they would have. That would have been like the way one switched up the coloring.
yep.
I think one understood like we need to switch up the coloring so it stands out. Pride should have did the Pride and Gold.
Have you ever heard the story about Dan Henderson's middleweight title from Pride, the one that he won from Vanderlei Silva?
No.
So Vanderlei Silva was the longtime 205-pound champion, and he lost it to Dan Henderson. They gave Vanderlei's belt to Dan because they didn't have another one on location. I don't know if that was a sign that the promotion thought that Dan, wasn't going to win or whatever. So they gave Dan that belt and told Vanderlei, look, we'll get you your belt back and we'll get Dan another one. And they never did. And Dan Henderson still has that belt. And Vanderlei Silva, the longest, reigning Pride champion when the company was around, doesn't have a belt.
I would go to New York and just get one made then. I would go to a belt maker and say, this is what I need. Like I would never, if I were him, I'd be getting a belt made. I wouldn't be okay with not having that, considering what he did.
No question about it. What was funny is the UFC, after they purchased Pride a few years later, signed a deal with Jakks Pacific and put out replica toy belts. And they actually had to call Dan to take photos of his belt so they could make a replica of it because there was no blueprints or whatever you want to call it anywhere within, Zuffa to have any idea what the actual schematics, I guess, of that belt were. So Dan's taking photos of it, and apparently he stored it under the seat of his truck. So.
Yeah, I mean that belt. I mean the cost of that belt is just going to keep going up and up. And I have dream gloves, which are super sought after. They don't have them. Like I know collectors can't get them. I have dream gloves. There's stuff that I have in some of my things that I'll keep forever. But
are you nostalgic about that stuff? Because it sounds like you hold on to them. Like when I talk to Jeremy Horn, he's just like, yeah, I just throw everything away. I don't give a shit.
No, I do. As I collected it, it just went in a bin,
right.
And I kind of felt that way. But my wife's kind of reminded me that there's going to be a point in my life where that becomes really important, not just to me but to the kids. So
100%, yeah.
I keep it around. And when it's time, we'll let go of it, or I'll give it to my kids or something like that. But we've been on this journey so long. There's stuff that I've forgotten about that's so cool.
See, I enjoy the fact that you're kind of enjoying the ride because you're a fight fan. Like a lot of people, I remember talking to Sean Shirk one time, and it became very clear that Sean was not a huge fight fan. Like he knew the people that were in his division, and he knew, guys that, maybe were a weight class lower that were near the top that might come up and vice versa. But yeah, it's weird to meet the pro mixed martial arts fighter, sometimes like I mentioned in Shirk's case, a UFC champion that has really no idea what's going on with the sport outside of, what's in front of him.
Oh yeah, that's silly. I mean, I spent most of my life obsessive about MMA, absolutely obsessive. I couldn't get enough content. I couldn't get enough instructional tapes. Seriously, my life, every hour of the day. Whether I was either learning something for myself to apply so I can fight, or I was entertaining myself through watching old fights or old tournaments or instructionals. Like I said, I've been a fan of the sport way. I consider myself more of a fan than I am a fighter.
I love it. All right, let's go to the next one. That is the Pride World Grand Prix title. It's similar to the divisional title in the sense that it is all the same color. There's no real difference, but this one pops a little bit more than their divisional title. I like this one a lot better.
Yeah. See, I feel the way you did about the pancreas one about this one.
Sure.
I want to like it because it's pride, but I don't know what them things are. It kind of reminds me of like the Louis Vuitton.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know what they are.
How they put LV all over their thing.
Right.
I don't know what that
Those
is.
look like either animals or like leaves. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. If they got rid of all that and just did the pride with the world thing, I think I'd be okay with it. I don't like the spattered flying cows or whatever
Yeah.
that.
No, I understand that. Next, it is the Ryzen belt, which
Oh, that's cool.
I like it, but I don't like the fact that their sponsor is on the top of it. Like their sponsor kind of kills the belt for me.
Oh wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, doesn't that suck? Like it's a good belt except for that.
Man, they must have put a lot. That is terrible.
Yeah. I also didn't even realize that they were like dragons.
Yeah, dude, that looks like a Game of Thrones belt.
Seriously. All right. Next, it is the Sengoku belt. A lot of people liked this. I was seeing people that were into it. I don't know. Like it's supposed to be gold, but it looks like cheese to me.
Dude, that's about as Japanese of a belt as you can get. When I see, like just seeing that belt, I'm like, that's 100% from Japan.
Yeah.
Nothing on that. I would know that that's from Japan.
Yeah.
That's as Japanese as it gets.
Speaking of as Japanese as it gets, the Shudo belt. I like it. I like the Shudo belt.
I would like to have that. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't even know if their belts are even given out anymore like that. Like that's old school. That's the Rumina Sato belt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Next is the modern day Strike Force belt, if you can call it that. It was the last belt that they used. They cleaned it up a lot. We'll look at the older one in a moment, but I feel like this one's too busy.
Like a lot going on.
Yeah. Like diamonds, or I'm not exactly sure. And that's the original Strike Force belt, which I don't really like because I hate that original Strike Force logo, but I do kind of like this belt better than the one that they used last because it's not as busy.
Yeah, the Strike Force on this one looks like it was like kind of
hand drawn almost.
Yeah, like my son could have done the Strike Force logo on that.
Yeah. Now the modern day UFC belt, which I don't know if I like it because it's still new. I like the idea that you get a jewel added with every title defense, but the UFC belt looked a certain way for so long, and this one looks so completely different.
Yeah, at first I didn't like this. I thought it sucked when it first came out, but I think it's growing on me.
I mean,
I feel like it's growing on me.
I like the fact that you can add a notch to your belt if you get a title defense, but it doesn't really sort of explain it either. Like there's the heritage of the original countries that have been champions like on the belt as well with flags and whatnot, but it's just you don't totally know that unless it's explained to you. And I don't know, probably another year and I won't even recognize that it's a different belt from the one we all know and love and the one that you have. And there it is right there. This belt is interesting to me because it depends on the lighting of it. If you take photos of this thing, it can look more gold than silver at times, and it can look more silver than gold. It photographs differently almost every single time.
Yeah, this one's badass. I like this. It's like reminds me of the old school shirts.
My question is, on your belt, does it say lightweight champion anywhere on the plate, or do all UFC belts, at least the older UFC belts, look the same? Because they used to say like middleweight champion on one of the side plates, but now I don't think, or in the latter part, I don't think they do. They just say UFC champion.
I don't know. When we run out and get it?
Not right now, but maybe you can let me know next time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
And then this was not a great belt.
What?
The Whamma belt. You remember this belt?
Yeah. Oh man.
You fought for this belt.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you did. Neither you nor Shinya Aoki knew that you fought for this belt.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god!
But you fought for that belt.
We did. I lost. Oh man, I did. I lost.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Was he given that?
I think they mailed it to him, and he was like, "Wait, what is this?" And give me a minute; it'll come back up in another game that we're gonna play. I love this belt. It's the Zuffa era WEC belt. It's clean.
You see, I really like that when they do the white and the gold in one belt.
Yeah.
I like the one championship one so bad.
Yeah.
This is cool, the WC. I like this one.
And one thing that I really like about it, too, is if you look at it, the gemstones around the outer edge of the circle are blue sapphire. I mean, I don't know if they're really sapphires. They're probably rhinestones. But, blue was the WEC's trademark, and they incorporate that into their belt. So I like that. That is the World Series of Fighting belt, which they only had one, and they would crown their champion, and then they would take the belt and put it back in a case. Like, apparently this was all like real precious metals and gold and all that fun business. So,
what it cost? Did they say how much it cost?
I don't remember. It was really expensive though. I think it was like $100,000 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which, I mean, unless it's going to be a collector's item and people really love it, like that's just like a cash for gold thing waiting to happen.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would do that. Hey, there you go.
I could not find a photo of the MFC belt. I wanted to, but that's the best I could find.
Yeah, I have that one. I have that one upstairs in my office.
Everyone seems to think that when I say MFC, I'm talking about Mark Pavlich's league up there in Canada. But the MFC, you mentioned it, Russian-based. They put on the shows. Didn't they call them like Euphoria?
Yup, Euphoria.
Yeah, I love it. So there you go.
Fedor gave me that.
Really?
Fedor gave me that belt. I won. That was a title fight in Atlantic City, and I won. I knocked out Derek Noble in about a minute, and Fedor presented me with that belt. And at that point, like I said, I'm a huge fight fan, and having Fedor give me my world title was like a bucket list. I mean, I'll never forget that ever.
For sure, that's super cool. Like, who gets to have that happen to them? That was a welterweight title, right?
Yup, welterweight. You know that Bruce Buffer used to announce for MFC?
Really?
I have footage. I wish I put it on. I could put on. I think it's on UFC Fight Pass. But you could see Bruce Buffer announce for MFC in Atlantic City.
Wow.
I think I was back in maybe 2004, 2005. I remember Bruce announcing me, and it's just funny to see how he's the face of the UFC announcer and all that today. You see him in like a baggy suit in Atlantic City back in the day. I have footage of him here.
That's crazy. I remember him doing a lot of grappling events, but I don't remember him doing a lot of other mixed martial arts events. But that's a little bit of trivia there for you. When was the first time Bruce Buffer introduced Eddie Alvarez? No one's going to get that right. All right. So now we're going to play a game, the MMA version of The Price is Right. These are items that were sold for the price that I'm going to ask you to guess, or are available right now on eBay or various stores like the UFC store for you to bid on. So we'll close up with this, Eddie, and we'll bring it back to what we were talking about a moment ago. You didn't get that Whamma belt, but the first item up for bid, the World Alliance of Mixed Martial Arts. This belt was sold on eBay about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know which belt it was, whether it was the one that Fedor had won by beating Tim Sylvia, or if it was the belt that you and Aoki fought for. But how much do you think this sold for on eBay?
$400.
The price was $1,595.
Oh, wow.
Like, who pays for that, and who has that, and what do you do with it?
I know who bought it. I know who bought most of the stuff.
Really?
I can make a very good guess.
Oh man,
I've sold sold my gloves to a collector in Japan who's doing a museum, one of the largest MMA museums in Japan, and he buys gloves for a lot of money, and I've sold old gloves to him, and I would bet any amount of money that he bought that.
I love the fact that there's an MMA museum, but I just fight use gloves unless it's a really big fight. Like that doesn't really mean all that much to me. I mean, at least I wouldn't personally buy it.
Yeah, they're huge fights. Like he bought mine in huge fights that I have had. Anderson Silva's, George St. Pierre's. He's the largest collector of MMA gloves and memorabilia in the world. He's like, I think he's mega rich.
That's cool. So is this a place that people can go visit?
I think that's the end goal, is that he's going to collect, he's going to make a museum, and it's going to be like the largest collection in the world.
Got it. That's awesome. All right. Next item up for bid, a signed Eddie Alvarez UFC glove currently on eBay right now. Eddie,
yeah.
Any idea how much this is going for?
Them gloves are pretty cheap. $100.
Lower than that, $27.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
You know, I think the reason that it's that low is because it doesn't have like a certificate of authenticity with it. It's probably somebody that hit you up like in the hotel lobby. You know what I mean? And said, "Hey, sign this quick." Is that your signature?
That's 100% my signature.
So, well, if
I don't do well because I sign everything. I don't say no to people. So
right.
Like some people come up to me and they have 15 things, and I'll just sign them. And unless I'm with somebody who says, "Hey, it's just one or two things,"
right,
I'll keep signing. So sometimes I get people who take advantage.
Yeah, I watched someone ask Frank Mir to sign like 100 photos one time in the lobby, and sure enough, Frank was just a nice enough guy to do it. Tim Sylvia was much more of a dick. If anybody asked Tim to sign something, he'd be like, "What's your name?" And like, "Oh, don't make it out to anybody." He's like, "No, what's your name?"
Yeah, yeah. That's the way to get them.
Yeah. All right. Next one up for bid is Bruce Buffer's used UFC 232 main event card for the introductions of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Al Iaquinta. Any guess how much these two cards are going for?
Anything Khabib's going to be expensive because the Russians are going to pay top dollar for that. It wasn't a monumental fight for Khabib. I'm going to say $1,500.
$2,974.15.
Oh wow.
What's interesting to me is how in the hell does Bruce Buffer have that much time to color these things? Like, there's a lot going on there.
This is his card to be able to.
Yeah, so this is what Bruce uses when he introduces people, and then he writes the result. You can see on the bottom card, it says 5 rounds, 50-44, 50-43, 50-43. So yeah, like, I don't know when he's doing that, but that's a lot. Like, that would take me a while.
He's a special kind of guy.
All right, next, a little more on the economical side. A used UFC 1 videotape, which, by the way, if you want a VCR, it's like $200. A used VCR will go for like $200. Today.
Oh, wow.
My wife bought me one because I had an old like family VHS tape that I wanted to be able to at least watch and try to convert to DVD. And yeah, a used VCR was anywhere from like $150 to $200.
I'm gonna say. I mean, there's a lot of them. I'm gonna say $30, $30 to $50, something like that.
$11.99.
Oh man, not bad.
Not bad at all. All right, don't get duped by the price tag on this one. The price tag says it's $7.99. But how much do you think this used PlayStation 2 Pride FC game is?
$3.
$20.
Oh yeah.
$20. I don't know if you can see it on your end, but can you tell which fighters are on the cover of that?
Is that Mario Sperry?
Not a bad guess. It is Heath Herring on top of Igor Vovchanchyn.
It looks like Sperry on the bottom.
It does, but it's
Like young Mario Sperry. So Heath Herring and who?
Igor Vovchanchyn.
Igor Vovchanchyn. Oh.
Yeah, and you can tell it's Heath because his hair looks like it's like a helmet carved in multiple designs. It's odd. All right, up next, it is the UFC's replica baddest motherfucker belt, which was awarded to Jorge Masvidal after his fight with Nate Diaz. Any idea how much the UFC is asking for this replica belt?
Their other replica belts like $200, I believe.
It is around $200, but this one is not the same price.
I'm gonna say this one's $499, $500.
This can be yours for $850.
This is the worst belt. I mean, it literally says motherfucker on the belt.
It does.
That was one of the saddest points in mixed martial arts for me when I see motherfucker on a belt.
It doesn't really scream regal, you know?
Sad point for my sport.
All right. Up next is a John Jones signed UFC 247 jersey, which I feel is like sort of duplicitous because it's a t-shirt. Let's be honest. It's not a jersey. It's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
How much do you think this goes for on UFCstore.com?
Who'd he fight?
He fought Dominic Reyes.
300.
$3,200
For a shirt.
for a shirt signed by John Jones.
That's incredible. Good for him.
Let's go to Max Holloway. Same thing. UFC 245 signed jersey. He wore this the night he dropped his belt to Alexander Volkanovski.
If John went for that, I'm gonna say Max is $1,000.
$800. Not bad. Good guess. In the ballpark there. I like it. Sticking with the used signed jersey. This is Diego Sanchez's jersey, not from his most recent fight, but the fight before that, and I don't remember who he fought.
Diego is the best interview in all of sports today.
Possibly. Yes. Possibly.
He's the best interview. So what? He's signing a shirt?
Yep. Signed jersey.
So if John's I don't know, I'm going to say Diego's got to be 500.
350. You're right in the ballpark on the jerseys. I like it.
350.
All right. So last but certainly not least, the signed card of UFC 188 from your fight with Gilbert Melendez.
Signed card this is in Mexico, right?
It is. Uh-oh. Having a little bit of a computer issue. There we go. I lost you there for a second.
This is Buffer's card again?
Yeah, Buffer's card. Your fight with Gilbert Melendez from UFC 188.
What was Khabib's? $3,000.
Khabib's was $2,974.15.
I'm gonna say 200.
Ooh, you're lowering your own value, Eddie. $899.99.
$800 for the
$900.
No, I think about with Khabib, the Russians have so much money, like there's so much money like that follows him.
Right.
Like Dubai, Russia, like I think about like the people who kind of follow, like what their budgets are, not the actual the product itself, you know what I mean?
And to be fair, some of these prices, they're not what they're, actually being bought for. It's what they're being listed for. But yeah, someone wants $900 for your card with Gilbert Melendez.
Oh, what? That could be sold. That could be someone could buy that.
You can buy that right now. It's on eBay.
All right, maybe I'll buy it.
There you go. Maybe you could just like trade for it. You could barter.
Yeah, I'll tell him I'll give him something cool for it.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you joining me, Eddie. The phone thing, I think it was a good idea, but unfortunately, we had so many people calling that the call waiting was just going to basically destroy any chance of actually being able to hear the callers.
Now everyone on Twitter, what I'm going to get look at this. I'm going to get a bunch of Twitters telling me I'm an asshole.
No, see, I'm the asshole. Like, point to this part of the podcast where I say, I'm sorry, I'm the asshole. We can make it up to them. Maybe next time we do this, we'll call them personally. They can send me their numbers, and we can bypass the entire system.
I'll apologize and tell them you're the asshole.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault. I would ask you, like, what's next, but I don't know. Like, probably more demo work on your house in Jersey, huh?
Survival.
Yeah.
Survival's next. We all have to survive. We all have to stay safe and just hang out with our families.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have a pretty sweet quarantine station to be stuck inside.
Yeah. No, I mean, just stay in. That's all. Stay in. Relax with your families. The good thing about catastrophes and pandemics is it reveals humanity.
Right.
We're all just become a little bit more human.
100%. I will close with this. We are supposed to get it business as usual, secluded place, destination, TBA. But Khabib Nurmagomedov will defend his UFC title against Tony Ferguson, allegedly. They've been trying to make this fight for years. What are your thoughts on that fight? Do you have a prediction? Do you have a preference? How do you see it going?
I think Khabib wins, and I think it's just because in championship fights, it has less to do with who the better fighter is and who has more to do with mistakes. Who will make more mistakes? And I think Tony makes a lot of mistakes, and he gets away with them because of his conditioning or what have you. But I don't think he's able against a guy like Khabib to make the same exact mistakes that he makes against the other guys he's been fighting for the past couple of years. So it's a game of inches. There's a small margin for error, and I think Tony just makes too many errors to be able to pull out a championship win against an opponent like Khabib. So that's my prediction. Khabib wins.
I think you broke it down quite nicely there, and I think that is actually why the odds look the way that they do. It'll be a fun fight, and one that I think the MMA world definitely wants and needs, and hopefully we get it soon. Will it be in April? I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, on the way out, any sponsors you want to thank? I know you got that sweet Underground King t-shirt on from Venom.
Yeah, we have like a custom line with Venom. They always got my back. Eat Clean Bro. They're out there feeding everyone, even through the pandemic. Eat Clean Bro is out there still feeding everyone, still keeping everyone their bellies full with that good food. And that's them too. That's really it.
Awesome. We've been doing these watch-alongs on Between Rounds where we watch old events and sort of provide our commentary and thoughts on it. Maybe we can get you back to watch an old school fight and share your thoughts and what your classics are and what those old school shows meant to you.
I'm always down to watch your fight, man. If you put one on, I'll watch it with you.
Eddie, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for doing this with me, and stay happy, stay healthy, and don't go crazy trying to stay quarantined. But it sounds like you're in a good spot.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in, fellas.
There he is, Eddie Alvarez, joining me here on Between Rounds Radio. If you missed any part of this broadcast, please go check it out.